We're going to cover lesson 1.3 in our Algebra 2 BJU textbook. So we're going to learn how to multiply polynomials or products of polynomials. So before we start, let's go over some basic rules. We're going to go over exponent laws. Our first exponent law is the product law, which says that if you have the same base and you're multiplying, you add the exponents. So x to the a times x to the b is the same as x to the a plus b. So let's look at this one, d squared times d cubed. If we were to expand this, d squared is the same as saying d times d, and d cubed is the same as saying d times d times d. And now we've got 5d's, which is d to the fifth, which is the same as 2 plus 3. Let's look at this one, 2cd squared times cd. So we have a 1 on that c and a 1 on the other c. We have a 2 on that d and a 1 on the other d. So if we were to expand it out, we would have 2 times c times dd times c times d. So then we can use our commutative property to change the order and put all of our c's and all our d's together. So we've got 2 c's and 3 d's. So our final answer becomes 2c squared d cubed, which is the same as saying c to the 1 plus 1, d to the 2 plus 1. All right, go ahead and try this one on your own. You should have gotten option 3. We'll start with the 6 times 4. That was going to be 24. And then you've got x cubed and x squared. So you add your exponents. So 3 plus 2 is 5. So it has to be x to the fifth. And y squared times y to the fourth becomes y to the sixth. So we went over the product law. Now let's go over the power law. The power law says that if you have a power to a power, an exponent to an exponent, so an example, x to the a to the b, you multiply those exponents. So it becomes x to the a times b. Let's look at an example, x to the third to the fourth. So this fourth is saying that inside this x cubed is repeating itself 4 times. Well, 4 threes is 12 since we add those threes together. So x cubed times x cubed times x cubed times x cubed, that was the 4, right? And then you use your product law to add your exponents. 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 gives us 12, which is the same as saying 3 times 4. So let's take a look at a power of a product. This says that if you have a product and you're taking it to a power, you distribute that exponent to everything that is in that product. So x times y, all to the a power, becomes x to the a, y to the a. So we distribute that exponent. So for example, 6xy cubed to the second, we had to distribute this 2. Or you can look at it like this. It's repeating this entire thing twice. So 6xy cubed times 6xy cubed. So we get 36, and we get x squared, and we get y to the 6th, which would have been the same as distributing this power of 2. 6 squared is 36. X to the 1 and times 2 is 2, so x squared. 3 times 2 is 6, so y to the 6th. Go ahead and try this one. You should have gotten option 2, because a to the third, and then this 3 times 3 becomes 9. b to the fifth, where you take 5 times 3 is 15, so b to the 15. Go ahead and try this one. Now 3 squared is 9, and 6 to the second power is 6 times 2 is 12, so we need to have m to the 12th, and then n to the first to the second. That means you multiply 1 times 2, and you get n to the second. So that gives us option 1. So we talked about power of a product. Now let's talk about zero power. Zero power says that if you take anything to the zero power, it's equal to 1. So anything raised to the zero power is 1. 3 to the zero power is 1. X to the zero power is 1. 80, a to the fourth, b to the power of 0 is 1. You could use Chinese symbols to the power of 0, and it would still be equal to 1. 5x plus 6y cubed, all to the power of 0 is 1. Let's look at this example. We have 4x to the fourth y times 5xy cubed. So 4 times 5 is 20, and then we have x to the fourth times x. So x to the 4 plus 1. Then we have y times y cubed, or y to the 1 plus 3. So then we get our final answer of 20, x to the fifth, y to the fourth. Next example. On this one, we have to distribute the 6x squared to every term. So 6x squared times x squared, 6x squared times 3x, 6x squared times 4. And then let's go ahead and simplify. So the 6x squared x squared becomes 6x to the 2 plus 2. 6 times 3 is 18. And then we have x to the 2 plus 1. 6 times 4 is 24, x squared. Giving us our final answer of 6x to the fourth plus 18x cubed plus 24x squared. This next one, we're distributing this a cubed to every term, giving us a cubed 3a squared, a cubed 4a, and then negative a cubed 9. So let's go ahead and use our product rule so we can add our exponents. So this becomes 3a 3 plus 2 to the 3 plus 2. This becomes 4a to the 3 plus 1, and this just becomes negative 9a cubed. So I just rewrote that to a standard term. Simplifying, we get 3a to the fifth plus 4a to the fourth minus 9a cubed. Now distribute this one and see what you get for an answer. Well, when you distribute a squared c d cubed to a to the fourth, you're taking a to the second times a to the fourth, so that would be a to the sixth cd cubed. So I know it's going to be either option 2, 3, or 4. Then I take the a squared cd cubed and I multiply it to my next term. So I'm going to have negative 3, here's a cubed, c squared, d to the fourth. So let's see, we said a cubed, c to the fourth, and d to the fourth. So it looks like option 2 is what we want. But let's go ahead and do the whole thing. So a squared cd cubed times 7a. So we should have 7a cubed cd cubed, which looks like that is option 2. Now let's talk about multiplying binomials. In your textbook, you will see the FOIL method. And the FOIL method is when you have two binomials. Remember, binomials means two terms. So a two-term times a two-term. In order to multiply them together, you multiply the first terms together, the outside terms together, the inside terms together, and then the last terms together. I do a box method where it's like in biology where you use the Punnett squares. My first binomial goes on top, so x plus 5, and my second goes to the side, x plus 2. And then I go ahead and multiply. X times x is x squared, x times 5 is 5x, x times 2 is 2x, 5 times 2 is 10. Then I write out all those terms. I get x squared plus 5x plus 2x plus 10. And I combine like terms. 5x plus 2x is 7x, and I get my final answer. So let's look at another one like that. 2x times x is 2x squared. 3 times x is 3x. 2x times negative 1 is negative 2x. And then 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. And it's very important to watch for your signs. So I write down all of these terms. 2x squared plus 3x minus 2x minus 3. I'll combine like terms. 3x minus 2x is just x, leaving me my answer 2x squared plus x minus 3. This one I have y minus 4 squared. That squared means that y minus 4 is repeating itself. So I have y minus 4 times y minus 4. It's so important that you just don't distribute that square because that would be incorrect. That's illegal. You can't do that. So remember, the square says that whatever is in parentheses is repeating itself. So y minus 4 is repeating itself. So we have y minus 4 times y minus 4. So I use my box method. I'll put y minus 4 on the top and y minus 4 along the side. Y times y is y squared. Negative 4 times y is negative 4y. Y times negative 4 is negative 4y. And then negative 4 times negative 4 becomes 16. I write all of these terms out. I combine my like terms. Negative 4y minus 4y becomes negative 8y. And then I get my answer, y squared minus 8y plus 16. Go ahead and try this one by yourself. You should have gotten option 2. If you use the FOIL method, your first terms is x and x. So that got you x squared. The O is the outside terms, which is x and 4y, which is 4xy. Then you did your inside terms, which is negative 3xy. So 4xy minus 3xy is just 1xy. And then you did your last terms, so negative 3y and 4y, which is negative 12y squared, which is option 2. Now try this one. You should have gotten option 1 if you did your first terms. 4x times 3x is 12x squared. Then you did your outer terms, so 4x times negative 3y is negative 12xy. Then your inside terms is 3xy, so negative 12xy plus 3xy is negative 9xy. And then your last terms, y times negative 3y is negative 3y squared, which is option 1. Go ahead and try this one. For this one, you might want to go ahead and distribute this to A first, and then either do the box method or the FOIL method. You should have gotten option 3. So if you multiply this piece first, this would have been 2a squared minus 10a. So 2a squared, so if we're going to do the first terms first, 2a squared times 3a becomes 6a cubed. And then we do our outer terms. So 2a squared times 4 becomes 8a squared. And then we do our inner terms, which would be negative 10a, times 3a, so negative 15a, which we combined it with what we just had, which gives us negative 40a, and then we have our last terms. So that would be, our last terms would be this 4 times this negative 10a, which is the negative 40a, giving us option number 3. Okay, so this one is a little bit more complicated because you have a binomial times a trinomial. And this is why I like to use the box method, because then I can just extend my grid or my table to have 3 terms, just like in Punnett squares in biology. So I have 4a plus 2b on top, and I have a squared minus 3ab plus 5b squared along the side. So 4a times a squared is 4a cubed. 2b times a squared is 2a squared b. 4a times negative 3ab is negative 12a squared b. Then 2b times negative 3ab is negative 6ab squared. And then 4a times 5b squared is 20ab squared. And then 5b squared times 2b is 10b cubed. So I'm going to go ahead and write all of these terms out, which is what I did on this line. And then I'm going to combine any like terms. So for example, 2a squared b minus 12a squared b became negative 10a squared b. And this negative 6ab squared plus 20ab squared become 14ab squared, giving me 4a cubed minus 10a squared b plus 14ab squared plus 10b cubed as my final answer. This is our last example. We have 6a minus 5 on top, 3a squared plus a minus 4 along the side. So I went ahead and used my box method or my Punnett squares. So 6a times 3a squared became 18a cubed. And then negative 5 times 3a squared became negative 15a squared. 6a times a is 6a squared. Negative 5 times a is negative 5a. 6a times negative 4 is negative 24a. And then negative 4 times negative 5 is 20. So if you notice, like terms go on the diagonal. So 18a cubed doesn't have a diagonal, so it's just 18a cubed. But 6a squared is diagonal to negative 15a squared. So that became negative 9a squared. Then I have negative 24a is diagonal to negative 5a. And so that becomes negative 29a. And then 20 does not have a diagonal, so I have plus 20.